make a major investment in the United States.
Right now, a private company founded by a billionaire holds more information about people living in America than the FBI, the CIA, and local police departments combined. And the government is paying them millions to use it. This isn't science fiction. This isn't some dystopian future. This is September 25th, 2025. On that day, Palantir Technologies delivered a $30 million surveillance platform called Immigration OS to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But that's not the story. The story is that ICE said Palantir was the only source capable of building it. Not because Palantir is the only tech company in America, but because the government has lost the ability to build it themselves. Welcome to the outsourced state. At this very moment, 5 tech companies control the operational capacity of the United States government. I know this sounds like an exaggeration or some conspiracy theory, but it's not. In 2013, the CIA awarded Amazon Web Services a $600 million contract to host all classified intelligence data. Not some of it, all of it. The CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the entire intelligence community. And here's the interesting part. For nearly a decade, AWS was the only company cleared to host top-secret data. Think about that. Every covert operation, every signal intercept, every piece of intelligence keeps America safe. All of it runs on servers owned by the company that sells you ebooks and toothpaste. In 2020, the CIA expanded the partnership. They awarded the Commercial Cloud Enterprise contract to 5 companies: Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and IBM. The value quoted at tens of billions of dollars over 15 years. In 2021, the NSA awarded Amazon a secret $10 billion contract codenamed, and I'm not making this up, Wild and Stormy. Meanwhile, the Pentagon tried to award Microsoft a $10 billion contract called JEDI to run military warfighting and AI capabilities. But there was a problem. President Trump allegedly ordered the defense secretary to, and I quote, screw Amazon out of the contract. After political interference and years of litigation, the contract was canceled. In 2022, it was replaced with a $9 billion contract, split amongst Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Oracle. This shift is not just the new normal of the federal government. It has seeped into local government. The NYPD, the LAPD, police departments in New Orleans and Chicago, dozens of agencies use Palantir's Gotham system to conduct predictive policing. The NYPD alone paid over $2.5 million to Palantir. And when they tried to cancel the contract in 2017, Palantir refused to give them their data in a usable format, alleging it would threaten their intellectual property. Palantir has received over $900 million in federal contracts. They've made more than $60 million from ICE since 2016. And now, with Immigration OS, they're not just supporting immigration enforcement, they are immigration enforcement. An ICE contract justification document states that Palantir has deep institutional knowledge of ICE operations. ICE didn't hire a consultant. They outsourced their institutional memory. And it's not just in America. Between 2015 and 2021, Google's DeepMind tried partnering with the UK's National Health Service. They obtained 1.6 million patient records without consent. The UK data watchdog said they violated data protection law, and the partnership ultimately collapsed. But not before demonstrating what happens when tech companies illegally gain access to public health data. Now, here's the terrifying part. This isn't just outsourcing. When you hire someone to build a road, they build it and leave. You own the road. But these companies aren't building infrastructure. They are becoming the infrastructure. And the government is losing the institutional capacity to operate without them. Remember the Palantir contract that the NYPD tried to cancel? They were unable to do so because their data could only be utilized within the Palantir system. Let that sink in. A government agency is not allowed to switch vendors for any reason because their data, in essence, is not really theirs. That's not a partnership. That's bondage. So here's our thought experiment. What if we're not at the beginning of a useful partnership, but at the beginning of a fundamental transfer of state capacity from public institutions to private corporations? What if, by 2028, just 3 years from now, the United States government literally cannot govern without Silicon Valley's permission? What if we're sleepwalking toward a point where turning back isn't expensive or difficult, it's impossible? Let's find out. 2028. Immigration OS has been running for 3 years, and it works. Maybe too well. The IRS looks at ICE's system and asks, why are we still using decades-old tax processing software when Palantir can analyze hundreds of millions of records in seconds? The VA has the same thought about benefits applications, the FBI about criminal investigations, Social Security about fraud detection, and they all arrive at the same conclusion. Why build it ourselves when contractors do it better, faster, and cheaper? Congress loves the idea, and the Federal IT Modernization Act of 2028 is signed into law. It's a cloud-first mandate across all agencies. The federal government saves billions. The government starts laying off employees, data scientists, IT specialists, system analysts. 25,000 federal workers disappear over 2 years. Contractors do it better, they say. We'll save billions, they say. And they do save money on salaries, on benefits, on retention costs. But what about the long-term cost? When you contract someone to build a highway, you own the highway when they're done. But when you contract someone to build your decision-making capacity, they own your ability to think. 2029, the first contract renewal, and something interesting happens. That initial Palantir contract that cost $30 million. Upon renewal, it has ballooned to $200 million. That's a 567% increase. AWS and Microsoft increase cloud costs by 40 to 60%. Congress demands an audit. They discover it would cost $12 billion in 7 years to build a potential alternative. A senator asks, can we turn these systems off? The answer they get is worse than no. The answer is, not without likely administrative collapse. Meanwhile, something else is happening. Something psychological. Social Security starts using a Palantir-built system to review disability cases. The algorithm flags 500,000 cases for potential fraud. Caseworkers still have 12 minutes per review, same as before automation. But now, there's an algorithm showing them a 92% confidence score. So they trust it. How could they not? Later, an investigation reveals 475,000 people were denied benefits, and 380,000 of them were legitimate cases. Unusual? Yes, but valid. When they interview the caseworkers, they say the same thing. The system said it was a 92% confidence score. What could I do? This is what psychologists call automation bias. Humans defer to algorithmic recommendations even when contradictory evidence exists. The algorithm becomes a moral buffer. You feel less responsible because the machine made the decision first. And this is how we lose our humanity in governance. Not all at once. One 92% confidence score at a time. By 2030, tech companies are processing decisions affecting 15 million immigration cases annually, 180 million tax returns, 65 million welfare determinations, 8 million criminal risk assessments, 100% of military logistics, all 17 intelligence agencies' analysis, annual contractor spending, $180 billion. For comparison, NASA's entire budget in 2025 is $25 billion. The government saved $50 billion on salaries, but now they're paying $180 billion in contracts. That's not efficiency, that's addiction. It is now April 2037. It's a Tuesday morning, and then everything stops. AWS's Virginia data center, the one hosting most of the intelligence community, suffers a coordinated cyber attack. Or maybe it's just catastrophic failure. The government doesn't have the technical expertise to know for sure, because those positions were eliminated. All that they know is that the systems have been offline for 72 hours. You may be thinking that this could never happen, but here's the crazy part. It already did. On July 19, 2024, the CrowdStrike incident caused a massive global IT outage that resulted in disruptions to air travel, banking, healthcare, and emergency services. The reason given? A flawed update to CrowdStrike's Windows sensor. Back to July 2037. The CIA can't access intelligence databases during an international crisis. The Pentagon loses logistics systems in the middle of a military operation in the South China Sea. ICE can't process deportation cases, airports are in chaos. The IRS can't verify tax returns, Social Security payments to 8 million people are delayed. The stock market drops 12% in a single day on what CNBC calls the government functionality crisis. China and Russia conduct military exercises, testing whether America can still function. Was it an attack? AWS claims yes, but the government lacks the technical capacity to audit Amazon's claims, so they settle. Amazon pays a $2 billion penalty, but keeps their contracts because there is no alternative. 2038, it's a different kind of crisis. Journalists obtain leaked training data from Immigration OS, and they discover something horrifying. The algorithm systematically flagged people from specific countries for deportation, not because they violated immigration law, but because during the training period, 2015 to 2020, those demographics were targeted more often. The algorithm learned our worst behaviors and made them permanent, efficient, and impossible to question. 1.2 million people affected over 13 years. Families separated, lives destroyed. Not by human prejudice that could be identified and corrected, but by an algorithm doing exactly what it was designed to do. There is outrage from the public and those affected, and a lawsuit ensues. The lawsuit asks a simple question: who's responsible? The government says Palantir failed to identify and correct bias. Palantir says the algorithm was working as designed based on the government's historical priorities. 4 years later, the courts still haven't decided. Because here's the thing about outsourcing your decision-making. You also outsource your accountability. By 2040, we're living in one of three Americas. In the first 5 companies, Palantir, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, effectively run government operations. Elections still happen. Democracy formally exists. But real power lies with whoever controls the systems. CEOs have de facto veto power over policy, not through lobbying, but through infrastructure control. A proposed climate change regulation? Convenient system errors delay implementation until the political moment passes. This is the corporate state, and it's not a coup. It's a gradually negotiated surrender. In the second America, we wake up. 2042. The digital New Deal movement succeeds. Government spends $250 billion over 15 years rebuilding internal capacity. It's painful. 5 years of service disruptions, security vulnerabilities, international embarrassment. But by 2045, we're 60% independent. Democratic control is restored. In the third America, the federal government is too gridlocked to act, so states go their own way. California chooses Google and Amazon. Texas picks Oracle and Microsoft. Florida stays with Palantir. And suddenly, there's no interoperability. Federal coordination collapses. We're not 50 states with one government anymore. We're 50 different administrative entities that happen to share a flag. Which future do we get? That depends on the choices we make right now. Here's where we are today, in 2025. We still have institutional knowledge, though it's declining. We still have exit options, though they're getting more expensive. Multiple vendors are competing, which does create some redundancy. There's debate about algorithmic accountability. Public awareness is growing. The cost to reverse course right now, 5 to 10 billion, over 3 to 5 years. Painful, but possible. Here's where we would be in 2040 if we keep going down the current path. Institutional knowledge, gone. The people who understood how government systems actually worked have retired or moved to the private sector. Exit options, catastrophically expensive, if they exist at all. Real accountability framework, failed. The public has accepted the corporate state as normal. The cost to reverse course, 250 billion over 15 years. Maybe impossible. There's a point on this graph, 2031, where government capability and contractor dependency cross. After that, we're in what I call the cognitive bankruptcy zone. Now, there are 3 things about this situation that aren't that obvious. First, we were told private sector efficiency would save money. But Palantir didn't succeed because they're more efficient. They succeeded because they accumulated institutional knowledge. The government could have built their own platform if they'd invested in their own workforce instead of contractors. Second, algorithms were supposed to remove human bias. But by making decisions opaque and removing human judgment, they actually reduced accountability. When a human makes a biased decision, you can identify them, fire them, and correct the system. When an algorithm discriminates, who do you hold responsible? The company that built it, the government that trained it, or the algorithm itself? Third, after the Jedi contract controversy, the Pentagon thought spreading across 4 vendors would reduce dependency. It had the opposite effect. Now they're locked into 4 companies instead of 1. They didn't reduce the single point of failure. They created a multi-company cartel. And this isn't hypothetical. The warning signs are everywhere. 2024, a single CrowdStrike software update grounded airlines, shut down hospitals, and froze banks globally. One company's mistake cascaded across critical infrastructure. The government learned nothing. Dependency on private IT vendors has only increased. The UK tried integrating AI into healthcare. DeepMind obtained 1.6 million patient records without consent, violated data protection law. The partnership collapsed. The US government's response? That was a UK problem. Won't happen here. We're making the same mistakes. 2017, the NYPD tries to leave Palantir. They can't retrieve their data, so they are stuck with a vendor they wanted to fire. That's the future for the federal government, except the stakes will be national security, not just local policing. When Trump allegedly ordered the Pentagon to screw Amazon out of the Jedi contract, military modernization was delayed due to years of litigation and billions were wasted. When private companies control government capacity, they become political weapons. Now imagine that dynamic during wartime or a constitutional crisis. Let's look at how this could affect everyday people. A father is flagged by the immigration enforcement algorithm. Falcon pulled his license plate, his social media, his utility bills, and assigned him a deportation priority score. He's detained at work, separated from his U.S. citizen children. A woman is denied disability benefits. The algorithm said 92% confidence of fraud. She posted photos from a family vacation. The system's interpretation is vacation equals mobility, which equals fraud. She loses her home waiting 18 months for an appeal. A student on a pre-crime watch list. Palantir's system analyzed his social media and friend networks. He is flagged as an elevated risk of future criminal activity. This is the humanity we lose. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but case by case, and algorithm by algorithm. Each decision is individually explained as efficiency. Together, they represent the end of human judgment in governance. So what's the solution? In 2025, we still have choices. By 2040, we might not. We can accelerate, embrace full tech integration, and hope market competition prevents abuse. We can regulate, mandate transparency, interoperability, and explainable algorithms. Or we can rebuild, invest in government capacity, compete for talent, and open source our systems. The worst choice is the one we're making now, sleepwalking into dependency while pretending it's just efficient contracting. So the next time you hear about a government IT contract, don't ask, is this efficient? Ask, are we giving away capacity we can never rebuild? Are we creating a single point of failure? Who's accountable when the algorithm makes a mistake? Can we walk away if we need to? Every contract, every system, every algorithm we hand over is one more step toward a point of no return. This is Thought Experiment, where we question not just what happened, but what happens next.